Alright, Chapter 8 for us is broken into two tests. We have the first four sections and the second four sections. So this actually represents the last section you'll see before we take our test at the end of the week, and then we'll continue 8.5 afterwards. But our last one is just multiplying special cases, and I will say officially there's only one type of problem you haven't seen, and that's something like this where it has simplify 7x minus 2 squared. It's not difficult, but remember that you don't need to rush through it. I'll tell you what most people do wrong when they see this is they distribute that 2. The reason you cannot distribute that 2 is because it's not the same as this, which is where there's no plus or minus sign, so that is where you would distribute it. Once there's a minus here, you can no longer just distribute it, so there's something else we have to do that we'll talk about here. If you just remember what the exponent actually tells us to do whenever it is there, 4 squared actually means we want 4 times 4, which is of course 16. Negative 6 squared means we actually want negative 6 times negative 6, which is actually positive 36. Again, that 2 means you want to multiply whatever's here by itself. And so what that means for us is that our first step in solving this should be expansion. So anytime you see a square, make sure you expand it. After that, I think everything else should take care of itself. Again, if you're this far into the chapter and you've been keeping up with everything, then it shouldn't be too bad after that. If not, you've got some work to do because, like I said, the test is only a few days away. So if you're asked to simplify 5x plus 3 squared, don't do the squared yet. Expand it first because that squared has to be taken care of. And the first thing the computer is going to have you do is actually type this out for a couple of problems. But what that means is take 5x plus 3 times 5x plus 3, which from there, of course, we do 5x meets 5x, and 5x meets 3. Trying to save some space because I got stuff over here, and 3 meets 5x, and 3 meets 3. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that I have room on this for any notes. Either way, after that, remember that you take your time on that. That's 25x squared plus 15x plus 15x plus 9, which in the end you put these two things together, 25x squared plus 30x. Remember, don't change that part there, and then bring down your 9, and that is your answer there. But again, that is the part you have to be careful of, because what people will do is they'll say 25x squared plus 9, and they'll forget about that middle term. So you want to expand it so you don't miss the middle term. Sorry about how bad I sound. It's been a bad few days, getting cold. 2x minus 9 squared is, again, expanded out. 2x minus 9. 2x minus 9. That is where now you say 2x meets 2x, and 2x meets negative 9, and negative 9 meets 2x, and negative 9 meets negative 9. After that, again, same thing. 2x times 2x is 4 with an x squared. That makes a negative 18x. That also makes a negative 18x, and this makes a positive 81, which after putting those two things together, you end up with this answer here. Alright. So again, that is the only thing you haven't seen so far in terms of getting ready for this test. Everything else on this test is something you have seen, or something you've been taught, or something you should have seen in your homework. And again, if you haven't gotten to all your homework, that's where you'll see it. But unofficially, there is one other type of special case. It just doesn't need an extra thought because you've already seen it. Look at the following problems here that we saw, where we would say x meets x, x meets 4, negative 4 meets x, negative 4 meets 4, and what we got here was x squared plus 4x minus 4x minus 16. And the special thing about this was that you have a positive 4x and a negative 4x. Now don't get that confused with this stuff here or this stuff here. Those two signs are the same, so they actually add together. These two signs are the same, so they actually add together. But when they are opposite, remember that those two things cancel out, giving us x squared minus 16. Same thing over here. 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. 2x meets 2x, and 2x meets negative 3, and 3 meets 2x, and 3 meets negative 3. Again, once we do that, you end up with 4x squared minus 6x. Notice that's a plus 6x and minus 9. And again, a negative 6 positive 6 makes 0. And so you end up with that as your answer. So looking at that, is there anything you notice about those problems that might give you a hint that the middle term eliminates? And what you should notice is they're exactly the same. X and x, 4 and 4, the only difference is it's a plus and a minus. So 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. This is what we call conjugates. Sorry, I'm not speaking very clearly. I'll spell it out. There you go. Say that without a cold. But that is what they are called. So whenever you have the same thing with different plus and minus sign in the middle, that's what that's called, as a conjugate. And what happens whenever you multiply conjugates by each other is that the middle term cancels. So just to make sure you have that whenever you start to work on your practice here, it helps if you understand when the middle term is supposed to eliminate, because that's really the only time it happens. So what we're going to do is just complete the expression with its conjugate. So 5x plus 3, if you were multiplying by something, again, that's 5x minus 3, so we want to just turn the minus into a plus. So if you see 5x minus 3 times 5x plus 3, it's going to be a middle term cancel. If you see 8x plus 11, then its conjugate is 8x minus 11. So again, if you saw this as a problem, the middle term is probably going to cancel. If you saw 6m minus 7n, then you'd probably want to put it as 6m plus 7n, and the middle term should cancel. Again, it helps to know that, because that way if you bump into a problem to where you have some work to do and you see the middle term cancel out, you can always look back to make sure it fits what you know. This is the only time that I think it's probably about the only time it happens, though, is whenever the middle term actually cancels, because in every other type of problem, the middle term is hardly ever its opposite, working out like that. But other than that, remember that your extra credit's coming up tomorrow. It's always due before we take the test, so the deadline for your points is Thursday at midnight. So take your homework seriously so you can earn some points. Again, since your test is Friday, your extra credit is due Thursday at midnight. So if it's not done by then it's not going to be able to be done at all. So again, get the most you can out of the practice, answer the question at the end of the video, and let's get ready.